Here. Welcome everybody to the March meeting of the Commission on Aging Well. We apologize, we didn't get started quite on time because we were having some technical difficulties, but I'd like to call the meeting to order at this point. And our first agenda item is to approve the minutes from the February meeting. We all had a copy of those. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Minutes are approved. There are no public appearances for non-agenda items, so we will move directly to our agenda, which is the first item is the annual report for the Senior Center with David Hill. David?
Hello, folks. Has anybody seen the annual report? Or is this the first time that?
Okay, great. All right, I'm just going to close my screen because it's easier for me to share and look at a larger screen because I'm going to be toggling through a few different items.
Do we need to go on mute here for yours?
No.
Okay.
So, all right. Here we go. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to see if I do this without wrecking anything. Oh, I'll be working from the laptop. Get that back up. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, back to it. Well, as everybody knows that this has been quite the last year that we've had. And the important part that we took from that was the importance of adapting to the changes that we knew that were right upon us. Once things closed down, it was showtime to make sure that we changed courses and we're still an essential service to the city and the residents of Fitchburg. The meal program never went away. The on-site meals, yes, the congregate meals, but the home delivered meals was still very important. And we saw quite an increase, not only in the participation in the Meals on Wheels program, but the routes expanded to 5. And what that really meant is that we had to hopefully hang on to some volunteers, but we also had to rely on staff to perform kitchen duties because it was not safe for 65 plus individuals coming in and putting themselves at risk and us putting them at risk. So that was really the immediate impact that we felt right away. As we started to progress down the road, being in charge of programs myself, I knew that I was going to need the experience from other programmers, from other senior centers in Dane County to see what they were doing, how they were adjusting to things. And that was a really helpful tool for myself and for them as well, that we partnered together on things that were working, things that were not working, and forging ahead. So that was a great opportunity for me not to only understand who was working at these other senior centers. I knew that, but sort of get to know them on a more personal level. And the more that we worked together, the more we realized that partnering on programs was going to be key. Being that things were all online over the last year, duplication of bringing in presenters, you name it, sharing those resources online, there was no barriers to that. We could all access links, and those links could be shared to our individuals in each of our communities. So here we have our current or last year's list of friends, our folks on the commission, as you know well, most of you are on there. And then we start out with Jill's page, the director's page, very well laid out of her message over that last year. I'll have you just go ahead and read through that. But I think most of us realize that we communicated really well, not only with the commission, the Friends group, but with the city, with partnering with the FAC department, with the fire department, police. The Fitchburg Star has been really helpful in getting the word out on the programs that we're offering, the services that we're offering through the social workers, getting out in the community still, making sure that they practice the safety standards that were in place at the time to provide continued services uninterrupted for our folks, because they still needed those important services. And so you can see the social work program report here, and it's just a lot of numbers, but those numbers are important to see how many unduplicated clients that they had worked with in case management, and also information and referral. So case management being more of that hands-on, digging into cases that needed attention, whether it was connecting doctors or resources or funding, information and assistance, getting people in the direction that they need to get in order to get the services that they could handle on their own, potentially. And then the Medicaid funding for case management, the hours there for the unduplicated case management, Medicaid, 32 unduplicated clients, the funding that we received from Dane County being $59,000. Coming on down to the program snapshot. This is my area, all of our areas, in fact. You can just take a look at the listing of the things that we did over the last year. And most of these are still going on. All the Zoom programs are continuing. At 10 o'clock this morning, we have the caregiver support group. At 1 o'clock, we have the book club that's going on. And so those are 2 Zoom programs just today that we're going to be tapping into. We have 3 active Zoom accounts, and I toggle between, not so much Jill's, because Jill's quite active on hers, so that gets a little tricky, but there's 2 other accounts, myself and another account that we have, that we toggle between those 2 accounts to make sure that we don't have any overlap of the Zoom programs that we're offering, because there's quite a few, and it can get a little bit confusing on how we set those schedules. So it's just an example of these Zoom programs being very popular for our participants, and that we're going to possibly see when we reopen in full that not only are we going to have the programs in person, but we're also going to be potentially keeping Zoom as an option for some of these programs. A good example of that would be our yoga class. We have some folks that have moved out of state, and we're participating in the Zoom class for yoga, and we're hoping that they could continue on with that as the class is live at the senior center. And so those are things that we have to adjust for, and if it fits our profile for what we are doing and it makes sense, we're gonna implement that. And we come on down to the Meals on Wheels program. The in-house reports are there for the congregate meals before the closure, the home delivered meals there, the totals, transportation, the volunteer report. Obviously, our numbers are not where they were other years, and obviously rightfully so, but it just shows that the programs continue and that we are making a difference in the community during these difficult times. And so from a staff standpoint, I think we all feel proud that we made these adjustments and that the community feels that we're a necessary service. And So there's some pride to be certainly taken with that. And then the pictures really speak for themselves. These are just the things that happened over the course of the year, the drive-bys, the meals, the home visits, the foot care. That's an essential service that we felt that we were able to provide in a safe environment, spread out in a different location within the senior center, but one that, you know, our folks really needed. Just like the meals program, people need to eat. Seniors need to have their feet done. You know, as we age, it's harder to get down to those toes. And so we knew that that was an essential service that we definitely needed to have in place. And then just a final note, and then any questions. From my standpoint, when I was looking at the programming, it was one of those things where, well, if the in-house programming wasn't there, how are we going to establish a connection to our people? Well, through the other senior centers working together and the Zoom becoming this new thing that folks were using, we had to really bring ourselves up to speed on that. But I also knew, you know, I don't want to, you know, be hateful towards the city's website. It's a good tool for people to get on and get information in print, but for an interactive website to be useful for what we do with programming, it is not the right fit for that. It's so I knew we needed to make a change, and the Oregon Senior Center had started a news flash a couple of years ago, and I thought about that, and it was a good tool that they sent out to alert folks of just highlighted information of what they were offering. And I was like, well, wow, now that we don't have these folks in place coming into our place and our hard copy newsletter not being picked up, we need to really step up our game and getting the word out. So I latched onto what Oregon was doing with the Constant Contact website. I take that back, the news flash, it's two separate things. But the news flash goes out with the newsletter to everybody on our subscription list. And what's important is, here's the news flash right here that I just sent out yesterday. And so our current list is right around 352 individuals on our subscription list. Over the past 10 to 15 years with our subscriber list on the city's government page, it pretty much stalled out at about 271, right around there. It's in the report. And so over that 6 month change before, from the city website to the news flash with Constant Contact, it grew from that 270 to 350 in just 6 months. And so what does that really say? Well, people are at home, they need to get in contact with us. Yes, that's one area of growth, but also it shows that it's a much more interactive interface that people can get on, get the information, click on things, sign up online. Just a much better tool. So what you're looking at here is the news flash that I sent yesterday about 2 programs that are coming up. So you see that there. This is what I see after I send it out. But here's the key thing is the reporting of it. We were never able to see what people were looking at on the government website. It's just a shot in the dark that people are looking at our stuff. Here we can see how many opens, the sent, the bounces, the successful deliveries, the percentage of click rates, all that information. And so what are people interested in? Well, here we see on this news flash, those little circles there indicate what people are clicking on, what they're interested in. So this programs page is the fscprograms.com. Visit our website, that's the city page. Again, this duplication, that's the city page too, the logo right there. But if you scroll down a little bit further, our new instructor for aerobics, Melissa, there's no click there because that is not a clickable image there. But here's the click for that, but it only does it on the logos. But then down here is another program. This is a clickable image that once open, it'll go to the information highlighting that these highlights here, more information's behind this logo. So when people get this in their inbox, they open it, they see this, they click on it, that information is right there readily available. So we know exactly what people are interested in. So it's just a great tool. I'm happy that we have this. It's something that we'll use going forward, and it really lets us know all the numbers that are out there and who's interested in what. It's just a fantastic tool. So with that, if there's any questions, let her rip.
One question that I was going to ask, Dave, I know that we're probably pretty much familiar, but a lot of people that might watch this program don't know where we get these meals from that we serve people. Might you be able to go over how we get the meals that we distribute? Just real quick.
Yeah, Mandy, are you on right now? Do you want to discuss about Consolidated?
I think she's in the kitchen putting some stuff together before the volunteers come. But I can certainly say, so our, a lot of the focal points, so the meal caterer is a big county contract, you know, an RFP, request for funding proposal or whatever, goes out from the county it's either 5 or 3 years. And so then caterers then can submit their bids. So we have no say about who cooks our food. And over the years, we've had 3 different providers. We used to have Gaylords for a bazillion years. And then for a while, it was some restaurant out of Columbus, which was interesting. And most recently, we've had Consolidated, and they are a county facility. They do all of the meals for all of the jails. So they have a lot of various contracts. But anyway, so we get our food from them. They're located in Verona. The food is always prepared there. And then drivers bring it to each focal point. So that doesn't mean every focal point in Dane County has that caterer. Wanakee works with their school district. Sun Prairie, actually, Colonial Club has their own kitchen and they cook their own meals. So his program is very different, and he actually caters the food for divorced. But us with a lot closer to Madison, including like Oregon, Stoughton, around closer to Madison, we all have Consolidated. But again, we don't get to choose. We just get what we get. Menus are provided by a dietitian that is also a Dane County employee. And then the funding, of course, you know, it's a donation for older adults over 60. There's a suggested contribution. There's always, we have to post the actual cost of the meal now, which is up close to $10, which includes, you know, not just the food itself, but the cost of admin, the cost of Consolidated staff delivering the food, supplies, et cetera, et cetera. I think the county set the suggested donation rate at $4, but in the end, people pay what they can afford. And so that again is supplemented by the Older Americans Act. So does that answer your question, Dorothy?
In full, thank you so much.
And then some.
David, I had a question about your Flash page.
Yeah.
The tracking that you have, where, like you were saying, if somebody clicks on something, then it registers, so you have an idea of what items on the Flash page are interesting for people.
Sure.
That only tracks how many people click. It does not track who clicks, correct?
Correct. I think we could drill down further and find that information. But
When an individual,
clicks on the news flash itself, we know who's clicking on that information. So the initial click, we have that information based on our subscriber list. And even if it was an individual that got it word of mouth from someone, we'd still be able to capture who's looking at that news flash, the initial entry into it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was just saying I have a couple of comments and one question. First of all, I think it's laid out very well. I like the design. 50% open rate is a respectable number. Believe me, that's a respectable number anytime you're dealing with an email campaign, any constant contact operation. The question is, who is the target for the annual report? And the reason I mention that is if it's the general public, then acronyms have to be spelled out. For example, CM, people aren't going to know that means case management. So depending on who the audience is, I really go through, is the document written in the language of the audience? And that's why I was wondering who the target is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Not that this is any excuse, the criteria this year was to sort of really narrow down our report to just numbers and pictures for this year. And I believe in years past, we can look through the reports from the past. I think the case management and the INA were in the description above in the report. So that's something that we can make that adjustment and put back in there. This isn't a document that can't be adjusted. So that's a good point, Linda.
Yeah, even if you just put the words case management instead of CM. Yep. It's just acronyms. Acronyms are always a stumbling block for people if they don't know what they stand for.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at that. I think in 2019, that was listed above what CM and INA. I think that was just missed in the takeout of those descriptions up above and then in the numbers down below. I think we just missed that connection. So I will definitely make that adjustment. Appreciate that.
I think those are really good points, Linda. I think we're required to submit a report to the city. And I think when, even in my mind, I think in the past, because, I've been here a long time, we might distribute it, we make copies and put it out, but I had never felt like anybody read it, to tell you the truth. And, and I'm just being honest. And so when I'm thinking of it, I'm thinking, well, I hope council reads it. But I'm happy to know that you read it and had questions. And I guess it's nice to know that we need to make sure we're speaking to a broader audience. And I shouldn't always assume that nobody reads our stuff. I think you get in that mindset sometimes, like, oh, a senior center, annual report, boring, nobody's going to read this. But so, yeah, I think those are great comments.
Yeah. Yes.
David, I have a couple comments. You mentioned that you learned that the Zoom meetings might be an effective thing to incorporate here on out, the news flash. Are there other things that you learned during 2020 that would be useful to carry forward? And likewise, were you able to identify any weak links that we need to pay attention to going forward?
Yeah, definitely. I think another thing that I learned from it is that it's really important to get people's emails for different programs. We have been working on that in the past, but it really showed in this last year that it's important that we have all the information, that people are utilizing our services at the senior center. Not only is it a phone number and an address, but an email as well. Let's face it, email is almost as critical as having a phone number. And so when there's adjustments to programs, if there's updates, the email is really important. For example, the pickleball topic was up, and Dorothy knows all about that, the meeting the other night. It was important that I had that email list of all the people that play pickleball at the senior center in the old call room. It's extremely popular. And if I had not had that email list, there was a lot of folks that were unaware that decisions were being made on the pickleball courts here in Fitchburg, an up or down vote. And that was really important to get our folks aware of that. And so, yeah, that is one area that I felt was a real important piece that moving forward, that's going to be an effective tool. And so setting up those email listservs for the different programs and having those available for not only myself, but Susie at the reception desk. It's important that she has that information as well.
And then, you know, the weak spots, I'd definitely say the city website. That was one that just, it was in our face, and, you know, just updating the information, because we still have to utilize that website. We have to put our information on there. It's the city website. I understand that, but to put an update on there is 2 times longer than it is working through Constant Contact. It's such a smooth flow with the Constant Contact website and Newsflash. The Newsflash is something that other senior centers are, you know, like I said, Oregon's using, but I created the website too. I just knew that the Newsflash wasn't going to be enough. You can put it in words in a Newsflash, but it's important that you have, you know, the website. We're paying for the Newsflash. We're paying a yearly fee for the Newsflash, which is, boy, $100, $120. It's an unbelievable deal. But with that, I realized that we could build a website. So our programs are here. They're big tiles. People click on them. They get the information that they need, and it's all right there. So it's just a really useful tool. So when we talk about, Don, when you're talking about roadblocks, yeah, the city website was the roadblock, and I think this is going to be a useful tool for that. And Jill, I don't know if you want to expand on.
Yeah, I think just to add to that is the opposite end of that spectrum is that those that aren't connected to social media, it was a big, big issue. And we have a lot of folks in Fitchburg. And so not only did we not have the email contact because they don't have computers or internet or access to that, we couldn't even go into their homes. And so how, you know, reaching out to the more socially isolated folks was and continues to be a huge struggle, and trying to bridge that gap of you know, meeting the demands of the folks that are able to do all of this stuff online, and then the other end of the spectrum of how do we get folks that can't come over and pick up a newsletter or don't know what's going on. So that outreach, you know, I credit Amy and Sarah to really doing a great job of reaching out to the clients, at least that we were aware of, that weren't connected to the internet. I mean, they did lots of visits. We did a drive-by at Chapel Valley and McKee Park Apartments where staff was outside because a lot of folks don't have email. So that continues to be an issue. You know, maybe in 10 years that won't be an issue, but we were lucky that the Friends group paid for a couple iPads as well as data connection that our Edgewood nurses could actually go into a senior home and connect them with the internet, maybe if they needed to, you know, sign up for a COVID shot or whatever. So that was, you know, you knew about social isolation, but that really came front and center during this pandemic. And you know, that's nothing you guys don't know, but it's not going to go away when we open our doors. I think it just exposed it. You know, another thing is the Edgewood students are doing, which is kind of cool. Part of their project, they had to do some sort of research. And so they're doing a little study on what are the effects of social isolation on the healthcare system. And they're meeting with the EMS this week. You know, had the calls gone up, you know, people are lonely, they're isolated, they're depressed, they don't feel good, they can't even go to the doctor. So that really, to me, that really opened up a lot of areas that we need to do better at, you know, more outreach. As always, we knew that, but sometimes when you have 200 people coming through the door, you're like, oh, I'm doing a great job. People are coming in, but what about all those other people? And so that's just a constant, but it will be a high priority moving forward.
Jill, do you send the newsletter to people who don't have email or internet access?
We send it to everybody that has home delivered meals. We drop stacks off at the apartment complexes. There's room for improvement about distributing that newsletter to more people in different venues. But we did stop printing that and we stopped mailing it. I don't know, Dave, maybe 5-6 years ago. Yep. We just found that it wasn't cost effective anymore. If we could, you know, get all those senior apartments, you know, say that's, you know, 100, 200 now with the High Line where we can just drop the stacks off. Some businesses aren't super cooperative about us leaving newsletters there. Businesses that I know have a high frequency of older adults at them. So we struggle with that. But so that's an area that we can continue to improve too.
One suggestion I was going to make, if you need contact info for people, if you have specific names, be sure to ask the city clerk if they might have phone numbers or email addresses as part of their voter information.
Yeah, as long as that's public record. I will say we are continuing to build our relationship with particularly the police department and fire and EMS. Actually, just actually last week, we had 2 EMS referrals and 1 police referral. And I think educating other city departments is actually one of the highest forms of reaching out to the most frail, isolated people. And so we have been going back and forth with the police. It's called a CIT program, which I think is a crisis intervention team. And so working with them on a referral form, making it a more formal process. Because the more that those employees are educated about what we do, city clerks as well, the more people that, appear to need service can be referred to us. And so that's also a high priority to continue to develop those relationships. There's a lot of staff. Now, I don't want to say turnover, but police have a lot of staff there. They're first shift, second shift, third shift, trying to reach out and educate each of them. Same with EMS about what we do is important.
If they're not, add the city inspection department to the list.
Yeah, right. Well, and we're restarting. For a while, it kind of fell off the radar, the M team, which is called a multidisciplinary team meetings. And that involves us, building inspection, police, fire, EMS, and it's just an opportunity to monthly get together and talk about issues. We have a hoarding issue right now in Fitchburg that is impacting a lot of different departments, and it is an older adult. And so it just puts some of these more critical situations front and center each month. During COVID, those meetings, which are led by the administrator, fell off. And so I'm happy to see with the interim city administrators that they're putting that right back on their place. I think they meet tomorrow again. But again, interdepartmental cooperation is super important. So, yeah.
Okay, if there are no more questions about Dave's annual report,
I'm going to go grab Mandy quick.
Yeah, okay. We'll move on
I
to.
have one question.
Somebody had a question?
I have one question.
Barbara?
Yes, I do, Barbara. Dave, are there any plans along kind of what Don asked? Are there any plans to continue recruiting the volunteers who are not seniors? That seemed very successful for the drivers and so on. And as well as, so many things that have been developed during COVID, like curbside delivery or the drive-bys and so on. Are there thoughts about continuing more of those, or thinking of different ways of delivering services than we've been used to in the past?
Well, I know Mandy's got to get her bearings straight here, but I think the question about younger volunteers, she could maybe highlight that a little better than I certainly could. But yeah, we're always looking for different ways that we can, get out there and create an impact. And so I think through this last year, we've seen what the flu shot clinic being up at the fire station, it wasn't sensible to have it in a small, you think of the senior center as being a large place, but when you think about a lot of people coming through, it made sense that we shifted gears and did it at a place where they didn't have to get out of their cars. And so that's the nice thing about what we do, is that we can look at the needs and sort of brainstorm and come up with logical ideas and plans that could be implemented. And so, yeah, and your feedback, people from the community, we find that as important as ever. So, and we take that very seriously. So it works well when we have everybody's involvement and suggestions and ideas too. So we are definitely available for that too. But your question about volunteers, maybe you could ask Manny that question again, and then I'm going to get into the kitchen here. So
Yeah, and if nobody minds me switching the order of the agenda, or is that illegal, Jim?
You're on right now. The agenda is Senior Center Volunteer Program, Mandy Miller.
Oh, I thought something else. Okay, cool.
Cultural
Yeah,
diversity.
so I kind of heard the butt end of that question, Barbara, and the answer is, yeah, everything is evolving and changing. I think, you know, with the workforce changing and maybe more people working from home and even after COVID continuing to work from home, I think that there is an opportunity to keep some of these volunteers on delivering meals and doing whatever. But, you know, time will tell. Is that the answer to your question? Yeah. So, yeah, volunteer update. Well, I am super excited because yes.
Is this the time when we are all supposed to mute so that it doesn't interfere with your presentation?
You can mute anytime. I'm not doing the presentation until the next bit that I'm doing.
Okay.
The diversity and inclusion. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm really excited because last week we started welcoming kitchen volunteers back. Jim, raise your hand. Jim came back last week. And this week we've got a few more different volunteers coming back. I'm kind of bringing people back in waves. We made sure that we got all of our, or as many of our volunteers vaccinated as we could. Raise your hand if you were vaccinated. Yep, through us, yep. Awesome. So now that people are having their second round, they're ready to come back. So it looks different now because we can't really have, congregate meals necessarily. So the volunteers are now coming in from like 9 in the morning until maybe 11 o'clock. Usually they would stay until 1:30, but we don't have anybody coming in right now. Hopefully that will change. We can start to bring a few people back at a time, and then the volunteers will stay for a longer duration when they're here. Let's see, what else can I tell you? I'm still in desperate need of volunteers for meal delivery. Something that happened when COVID started, Fitchburg is really, the boundaries of Fitchburg are ridiculous. So you have some people living way over here, and then you got some way over here. So what happened when everybody had to stay home is that people still needed to get a meal. Even people that normally would come into the center to eat and have a congregate meal needed to get a meal. So what happened is I had to start developing new meal routes. So we typically pre-COVID have 3 meal routes. And then so I switched it, and we had 4 and 5 and now 6. So we've been running with 6 different meal routes for most of this. Part of the need for one meal route in particular was the opening of Highline Apartments on Fish Hatchery Road. That's a whole route of its own because right now we've got 9 or 10 people on that route. So it started off with, just 4. You can see how things have grown. So we have 6 routes going out. That means 6 drivers every day that I'm scheduling. And that gets tricky. We definitely couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it without the help of a lot of City of Fitchburg employees that stepped up from second floor in particular. So that was amazing. And then some of those people are still delivering meals and probably will continue to deliver meals. But the 6 routes, that's not going to go away very soon because of not being able to bring people in at the volume that we used to bring them in. So we currently do not deliver meals on Wednesdays because I simply just do not have enough drivers. And that's a problem. I mean, when I'm sort of struggling to get 6 drivers every other day, getting 6 more drivers is a bigger undertaking than you can imagine. Because people like to try it out, and then they're like, this kind of stinks. I don't like doing this. So then they don't want to do it anymore. And rightfully so. So I guess before we can start doing that, I'm looking for meal drivers still. But I have, an amazing group of meal drivers that have been so dedicated and so consistent to delivering meals. And we've been doing it in the safest way possible. We have no contact. It used to be that they would hand them to them at the door. Now we are using plastic bags and hanging them on the door, setting them outside the door and tented the bag so that they can just, slightly bend over and pick up the bag with their food in it. And it's, it's been rough. Our people miss us. We've done things, this is more nutrition program related, but we've done things with social isolation, trying to get them activities to do. So early on in COVID, I got a bunch of crossword puzzle books, and we gave everybody a crossword puzzle book and on a Friday. And now we have other little things that we're giving them on Fridays, or, I'll put a cheese stick in with their meal. I mean, just a piece of candy, just something that I don't know, is different from the meal. It doesn't sound as cool as it actually is, but I can assure you it's super cool. We sent gingerbread houses for people to assemble, okay? We sent big word search books. So on Friday, tomorrow, I'm so excited, we're sending out these little flowers. But anyway, I digress. I'm getting off topic. Volunteers. Does anybody have any questions about volunteers or the volunteer program?
Do you know of your volunteers? I know that Roger and I are both fully vaccinated. What percent of your volunteers are fully vaccinated? Do you know?
I absolutely do not know the answer to that question. However, I can tell you that over the last 2 months, I have worked with Susie to schedule, like, I want to say almost 100 of you to get vaccinated, 80 to 100. So if I have 250, 75, whatever it is, volunteers, whatever. So maybe half-ish. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, right now, today, I got another clinic ready for folks that are volunteers that are younger than the 65, and they're going up to Promega today. So there's another 50, most of them are volunteers that are going up to Promega to get their first vaccine today. So that'll be in a better number too.
And Mandy, this is one of the fun things that she said to the meal bags. And they're solar powered, right, Mandy? So they constantly move, just as a happy, like, put it by their window-seal. So that, and then we have a little cool.
We have a little sticker that goes on there that goes right on the thing that says, if you need us, give us a call, Fitchburg Senior Center, cheer up Buttercup, whatever, something like that. I picked those out because my grandmother who passed away a year ago, she had one of those and she loved it, and she was 94 years old. So I'm like, if it was good for Grams, everybody's going to love it. So we love them for sure. Any other questions about volunteers?
Okay.
Okay. Well, then I think this would be the time that you could mute your microphones if you're not already muted. And I will go through to the next part of what I'm supposed to present, and that is about the Diversion and Inclusion Employee Resource Group that we've started here at the City of Fitchburg. Let me share my screen, and hopefully this will share with sound. I don't know what this box is, but hopefully it won't be too annoying. So,
Yeah.
oh no. Hold tight. Oopsie. I need some technical support here. How does this look if I leave it in this format? Okay. Hang on, I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. That's better? Okay, so I'm trying to think of where to start. So early in 2020, the Personnel Committee approved the policy and procedure for the city's very first ERG, Employee Resource Group. But prior to that, I was asked by our HR director, Sarah Olson, if I would be willing to help her start this group. This was sort of mid to late 2019. And I said, absolutely. And Sarah sought me out because she knows, I guess through Facebook posts and just talking to me, that I identify as an anti-racist and that I would be somebody that could add something to this group. So it really started because Sarah took a look at the demographics of the city. And if you see, we have 253 employees, 91 of them are women, 27 people of color. And then in leadership, we have 18 employees in leadership positions. We're doing pretty good with women. We've got 8 women as department heads, but we have 0 people of color in any leadership position. So the first thing, so we needed to figure out a way of, we're trying to figure out a way of how do we encourage people of color, women, to come and apply at the city of Fitchburg, and then also maintain their employment with the city of Fitchburg. So we started the ERG. So our first meeting was, getting to know people. We first invited, I invited a few people, a few of my friends that I know are interested in this. Sarah sent out a citywide email to all city staff saying, hey, this is what we're doing if anybody's interested. And then the rest of these people, aside from the 4 or 5 that I invited, then the rest joined. So I think there's about 13 of us in the group. And you can see we're all from different and a half to 2 hours. So that's how we started. We started by just talking about, where is there a need? And we talked about, like, where are we at in our level of competency when it comes to social justice issues, diversity and inclusion issues. So one of the first things that we did was I held a microaggressions training for everybody that was in the group, just so that we could start thinking about ways that we could start filling the gaps where there were gaps within the city. So I just want to give you a few slides and a little video of microaggressions to give you an idea of the kind of training that I did with the rest of the staff, or not the rest of the staff, the rest of the ERG. So microaggressions are really like how you offend people without really trying. Things like Indian giver and the rest that you see on the screen. Those are, like, nobody's really trying to offend anyone with that, but it's super offensive. So I went through different slides that showed a theme. So the theme is color blindness. And statements, these are statements that indicate that a white person, doesn't see color. So the microaggression is something like a person saying, when I look at you, I don't see color. Or the good old America's the melting pot. And my all-time favorite, and I say that gritting my teeth, is there's only one race, the human race. So if that's the microaggression, what message does that send to the person that those things are being said to? It sends a message of denying a person's color or racial or ethnic experiences in general, like you don't matter, you don't matter. And it America's the melting pot. It assimilates everyone to a dominant culture, like everybody should be the same. And just really just denying people their identities. So that was an example of a microaggression. Now I just want to show you the film that I showed the group. It's about 2 minutes long. Please, I will be looking to see if you can, you should be able to hear this. Oh, rats. Okay, hang on. I need this to be smaller. Ah, I'm so sorry. This computer is smaller than mine, so it's really hard to run it. Oh my goodness. Sorry, gang, I'm working on it. Okay. Andrew, is that something you could do for me while I'm talking? How microaggressions are like mosquito bites. If you type that into Google, you should be able to get it. And I hope that the version that comes up is not the one with the swearing in it. But if it is, I trust that you've all heard swear words before.
Can you just do a few more slides while he's doing that, Mandy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So
look at this.
After we got a little training under our belt, I did another training with the group about white privilege, and we talked about white privilege and privilege in general. It doesn't necessarily mean black or white. It means able-bodied, differently able-bodied. We decided it was time to come up with a mission for our group. So our mission is to promote equality and social justice and to create change, education, and awareness. It's an employee resource group, but we decided to say that we wanted to make sure in our statement we talked about our clients and our customers, because like at the library and certainly here at the senior center and the rec department, we do have clients and we do have customers that are coming in, and we want them, in addition to staff that come in, to feel like they're belonged, welcomed, and heard. So that's how we came up with our mission statement. After some time, we decided, it's really, we need to break out and figure out how we're going to tackle this as a group, but less voices around all the subjects. So we formed 3 different groups: training and education around diversity and inclusion, recruitment and hiring, hiring a diverse workforce, and onboarding and retention. So stuff that I talked about earlier. because my passion is in education and training, I chair the education and training committee. And so how does my committee impact the staff? We're hoping to share educational materials with staff. We're hoping that we can host all city trainings on equity and inclusion. And we're just hoping that our presence within the city will attract more people of color or people of a different, not my majority status, to come and apply and then also feel welcome while working here. So one of the things that I did was I put together a Black History Month slideshow. If you didn't see it, it's on our Facebook page, I think, maybe. It's on our webpage, probably. It's just a slide of different people of color that are not as well known. So like our own Frances Huntley Cooper was the first African-American mayor. Did you know that? Maybe. Patricia Bath, ophthalmologist. So it just doesn't have all the big hitters. It doesn't have like the Martin Luther King. It has people that you haven't heard about in it. So that slideshow, with the help of FACT, Scott on FACT helped me put it together. That's been running on FACT TV. Another thing that the education and training group did was get members of staff and members of the committee to take this justified anger course. Now, this is a course that I took, I think in 2017. And you might be familiar with Dr. Alex G. of, I think it's New Fountains Church that he's the pastor of. So it's a history course. And I have been so moved by it ever since I took it. I'm just like, everybody should take this class. So we started talking about it at one of our committee meetings and realized that, oh my gosh, a class starts in like 3 weeks. And so I decided, well, why don't we see if we can get people to take the class? So there are, I think, 8 of us that are in the class that are on the employee resource group. And then 7 more people that are not, like Gabriella Gerhardt is an alder. Jill's taking the class. Chief Breckland's taking the class, and he has a few of his police officers taking it as well. So we have a group of 15. We were supposed to be doing this all together, but COVID, so we do it via Zoom. The class has 3 parts to it. The first part talks about bringing racism into today. So Dr. G gives a story first about his encounters right here in Madison as being a person of color and how he has been treated in different scenarios. Then the second part is a lecture, and it's from a professor, usually a professor of history from the UW. It's amazing because when I took this class in 2017, the class cost was like $50. And I was like, this is a steal because these are university professors teaching it. It's a great topic. I want to learn more. Now the class costs $300. So, but what's great about the city is that we do have funding for training. And we really, part of what my committee wants to do is my committee wants all department heads to go through this training. And it would be great if we could get alders to go through the training as well. Because really, when we're talking about making a change within the city, when we're talking about creating diversity and inclusion, it has to start from the top down. We have to have our leaders engaged in wanting to do it. Because if they don't want to do it, how are the rest of their employees going to be interested in it. So I'm really proud of Jill for taking the class. I think she can talk about what she thinks of the class so far, if you want, Jill. She stepped right up and was like, yeah, I'm taking it. I'll take it. So, and Chief Brecklin, I think we're starting to go through, we're on the right direction anyway. This is not supposed to be there. Some of the other initiatives, some of the other things that we are doing is we have started, ERG members have started to participate on hiring panels for various city employment things. So like Susie just got done serving, Susie's on the ERG, and Susie just got done serving on a hiring panel for the fire department and for a position in the planning department. So she just served on two different assessing. So she just served on two different committees. Juan is a member. He served, I think, on the police or fire. I'm not sure. And it's just so that we're having that a different perspective. Like we're going into an interview panel with a little bit different perspective and a little bit different things that we're looking for. I just got done serving with Sarah, the HR person, and Joe Maldano, and I probably said his name wrong. We went through we're hiring for a new city administrator, which is super exciting. We're all very excited about that. And so our group, we had a committee that looked at that job description through an equity lens. So we just went through the job description without going through it. Like we didn't have a copy of the job description, but we were asked questions and then asked to look at it through an equity lens. So then the job description was changed up a little bit. We talked about questions that we could ask the people that were applying for the job about equity and inclusion. So yeah, we're doing stuff like that. What's another thing? So with my group, we're sending out monthly little updates on this is what we're doing. So an update, like the update for February, it was Black History Month. So I sent the PowerPoint, the slideshow that I did out to the city staff. And with that, I sent the library, gave us a list of library books that you could read about Black history or people in history, in Black history. What else was in there? The first letter that we sent out was just introducing everybody to members on the ERG. We also post our minutes within the city's network of, just staff can look at them, but we post our minutes. And looking ahead, I'm hoping that we will be able to present to the committee of the whole or city council something, looking to get on the agenda in June or July, whenever, so that I can present some of the same stuff that I presented to you, but a little more depth. So that's kind of where we're headed. Now we're alternating our meetings. So we meet as a big group one month, then we meet in our committees as the next month. And I like doing it that way because then people have time to actually do the work. I mean, we can talk about diversity and inclusion all day long, but if we don't have actual time to do the work and get things shaken, it's for nothing. One of the other committees is working on going through our employee handbook and making the pronouns more gender fluid. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. We have a lot of ideas. There's a lot of passion behind what we're doing. And yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any questions that I might be able to answer?
Mandy, one thing Andrew had posted in the chat that video clip is ready if you want to run that.
Oh yeah, why don't we do that? Hope it's not the swearing. Are you playing it, Andrew? Okay, thank you.
Well, I think I'll just chime in now and say, like Mandy said, I'm taking that class and it's incredible. You know, it's stuff you don't learn about in school. Every time I listen to the lectures and then we have a discussion, I feel completely uneducated. I feel horrified because the history, you know, that we don't, you know, and maybe I did learn some and you just don't remember. But it's enlightening and it's really hopeful to see a really large group of diverse people, I think with diverse views, come together and have a discussion. And so I guess it just makes me hopeful that it's a difficult time in our world, but if we can continue to just have respectful conversations and just keep educating ourselves, I don't know. So I'm really happy to be a part of it. Mandy has tried to make me take that class for a long time, and I just kind of blew it off like, oh, you know, maybe if I have time, but go ahead, Alice.
Well, and it is a time commitment. Everybody that's taking the class, it's 2 hours a week for 9 weeks. So that's not chump change. I mean, that's definitely a time commitment.
And like Dane County, like Don's talked about on the nutrition committee, and I know Don had to leave early. You know, we're also taking another class called The Uncomfortable Truth. And so it reminded me of what a poor student I was in college and high school. Because man, I got to stay focused. I'm taking notes and but it's been really, really good. So Alice, you got a question?
I just wanted to say that I finished one of the most important books I have ever read in my life. And it is called Cast by Wilkerson. And it was eye-opening, and how many things happen that we are not even aware of. Yeah. And that there is a caste system in America. Yeah. So I highly recommend it.
Well, Mandy was, you know, when I asked Mandy to come, thank God she touched base with me yesterday and said, how long do I have? And I said, maybe 30 minutes. Well, I knew Mandy and her passion, you know, she had a 2-hour training scheduled for you guys practically. So I said, listen, you know, scale it back. But, you know, as we move forward, I think it might be a great opportunity to open this up and do a mini training or do a book club that's all focused around those kind of issues. And so anyway, Mandy's got lots more to say.
Yeah, the potential for me doing the microaggressions, the full microaggressions training with you guys, it is possible. Doing the small white privilege training with you guys is possible. And you know what makes me the expert? Well, when you identify as an anti-racist, I don't say I'm not racist, because that's not enough. That's not even the issue. The issue is putting your feet to the ground, supporting businesses that are diverse, identifying racial disparities and understanding the racial disparities, and understanding how I have been a beneficiary of being white. Yeah. Confronting my own racist views that I had of my own, like, you know, really thinking about where my own issues lie and being open to accepting those and taking responsibility for those.
I don't mean to cut you off, but we have so much more on the agenda, Mandy.
Okay.
So, but I want you to show that video.
I'm going to stop, but yeah.
She is, you know, she's well-read and she knows. And I am excited to offer, I think, you know, not just to board members, to our participants too. And now that we can do things via Zoom, we can reach more to this in her perspective. So, all right, Andrew.
Who still don't think that microaggressions are a problem?
Oh, you're so well spoken.
Just imagine, instead of being a stupid comment, a microaggression is a mosquito bite.
Ugh, it's a compliment.
Mosquito bites and their itch are one of nature's most annoying features. But if you're only bitten every once in a while...
No, where are you really from?
Cleveland.
Sure, it's annoying, but it's not that big a deal. The problem is that some people get bitten by mosquitoes a lot more than other people. I mean, a lot more. Whether it's on a date...
Oh, your English is so good.
Excuse me?
Going grocery shopping.
You know, everything happens for a reason.
I'm just buying apples.
Commuting to work.
So when are you gonna have a baby?
Watching TV.
We have to keep the Redskins name. It's part of our culture and history.
Or just walking down the street with your partner.
I couldn't even tell you were gay.
Mosquitoes seem to pop up everywhere.
Do you know John? Give me shopping advice. I love Cher too.
And getting bit by mosquitoes every goddamn day.
Can I touch your hair?
Multiple times a day.
So pretty.
Can I touch it, please?
Can I please?
Is annoying. And makes you want to go ballistic on those mosquitoes, which seems like a huge overreaction to people who only get bit every once in a while.
It's just a mosquito bite. Who cares? Just another angry black woman.
Of course, beyond just being annoying, some mosquitoes carry truly threatening diseases that can mess up your life for years.
Astrophysics? Maybe you should try less challenging, Major.
Ow, my dreams.
And other mosquitoes carry strains that can even kill you.
He looked like he was up to trouble, okay? I felt threatened.
So next time you think someone's overreacting, just remember, some people experience mosquito bites all the time.
You're all so exotic. Wow.
And by mosquito bites, we mean microaggressions.
So that was part of the training that I did. Sorry about the swearing. The version that I thought I had all loaded up perfectly did not have the swearing, but I know many of you and know that you are not, you have heard those words before. Questions, because if you let me talk, I'll just go on and on.
Okay, maybe we can move on to the Friends report. Thank you very much, Mandy. That was very
Bye,
good.
everybody. Good to see your faces.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
Mandy.
Judith.
I'll be brief, but you know, as you
Okay.
can see, I have an awesome staff with just full of passion about what they do. And so I feel really, really lucky to be surrounded by people that care about what they do. And so I'm just very grateful for each and every one of my staff. So, so just very quickly, you know, we're talking about reopening and we want to reopen. We are, as Manny mentioned, you know, we've got lots of volunteers that have been vaccinated. We're finding a lot of plus 65 people have been vaccinated. And so, you know, we're getting ready to open our doors. Most likely, possibly we bring back a few small group passive programs in April. You know, David has been reaching out to all of our volunteer facilitators like Jim, who does the men's group, you know, and also, you know, just our massage therapist, that kind of stuff. What's your comfort level with coming back? When do you want to come back? It really feels like May is a more comfortable time to maybe be in person, but again, it's kind of individual. The women's group seems pretty excited to get back. So, you know, we're watching the mandates. It's still social distancing. It's still 6 feet, but you can't have large groups. And so we have plenty of space here in the dining room. You know, the Friends group is considering coming back and meeting in person. We can socially distance folks. Certainly, we're going to have to do the masks for some time. I don't know when that will change, but, and then also everything is very dependent on the county in terms of the nutrition program. A lot of our regular meal participants are dependent on transportation. So when, you know, the county decides that how many people can we put on a bus, you know, we cannot ask if people have been vaccinated or not. So that will not be a criteria of being a part of a program. Getting on the bus, getting in the doors, that is a HIPAA violation. Certainly you can tell whoever you want, but so there's still a lot of details to work out. Just like when we were closing, it's just as confusing as to how to open. But there's hope there's vaccinations. And so I would say, you know, we're also waiting for the green light from the city to open up, which they are thinking mid-April, you know, opening to the public. So I think it seems appropriate that we do more of a, I don't want to say a bigger opening May, but again, based on feedback from facilitators, you know, caregiver support group is maybe 6 people, so they could come back maybe in April. So we're still working out some of those details, but I can guarantee we will go back to normal sooner than later. So I'm excited about that. You know, as Dave mentioned, we got a lot of Zoom programs that have been very successful. So it's good to learn about how to do those and how to continue those. We are doing tax help every Friday now. So people are coming in the doors. I think this will be our 3rd week. As I mentioned before, it's a 3-part process where people had to pick up their forms, then they had to come back and have them scanned in. And then their last visit would be just going through the information with the tax assistance person. And so I think we're serving near, I want to say 90 people through tax help every Friday. So it'll go through March, and I'm not sure how many dates in April. So again, refer to your newsletter. I'm not going to go through that. I talked a lot about the Edgewood students. They're doing a great job. It's great to have them here. The UW Med students, we've got a program now. If you still want to do laughter yoga via Zoom tomorrow, you can just call the front desk, call Susie and get a Zoom link. And then they're doing an advanced directive program with an attorney here, Mark Johnson, the next Friday. And then I'll get a new group of students March 29th. So you'll see some more stuff coming from them. We'll be doing another Million Heart screenings. That was pretty successful with the Edgewood students. That is in person, but it went really well. And so we'll be doing that again in April. And they'll also go back to Highline. And then they're going to do it at McKee Park. So people don't have to travel. They can do it right there on site and do it very safely. I just wanted to remind you that the transportation public hearing through planning, or no, it's Public Works, but the Transportation Engineer Transit Commission, holy moly, is holding that public hearing tonight. I think it's at 6:45. They initially said 6:30, but if you want to listen in, you want to speak, pull that agenda up. You can, contact probably Fact TV if you do have any public comments, but this is the time to start thinking about transportation because, man, I'm really concerned about the annexation of the town of Madison and how we're going to move people around the city. So anyway, if you're interested in that and have a passion about it, I would recommend you tune in. Let's see, Don, who left, he is not going to re-up for another term, so we'll have an opening on the Commission on Aging. Don has been great. He serves on the AAA board, and he has his own business and he's very busy. So we're grateful. I think he'll be here next month, and then we'll have a new person in May, hopefully. And then just very briefly on a county level, we're already looking at our budget priorities for 2022 because we have to start that process already where we prioritize what we're going to ask for from the county. Generally, always, I will even say generally, case management services is on there. We're going to be asking for, let's see, ongoing chunk of money, $75,000. This would be the 3rd year of this ask. And again, that $75,000 put into what we already received, which is about $700,000 into a Dane County formula that then gets distributed to all the focal points. That's when you saw we received $59,000 for case management services. So that's part of this big pot of money that Dane County puts towards case management, and it's non-mandated. It's not offset by Older Americans money or anything like that. And then we'll be looking at nutrition site management money because, we've seen a huge increase in the home delivered meals. I think it was the isolation also marketed that program. It was easy to keep people on it, put our congregate people on it, but then other people were like, wait, I can't even get any food. And so the numbers have gone up tremendously. So case management and nutrition will be the priorities for the Dane County funding. And then we'll be looking at some cultural diversity money to really reach out to the Asian population, but that will all come through Dane County. And then on a state level, I am the Wisconsin Association of Senior Centers, WASC. I'm the legislative liaison. I've talked to you before about Aging Advocacy Day, where within this group that I attend, another acronym called WAN, which is the Wisconsin Aging and Advocacy Network. So I sit on this as that representative of WASC. They come up with issue briefs every year, things that impact older adults. So there's a big list of issue briefs that we'll be bringing forward for Aging Advocacy Day, which will be virtual this year on May 12th. And so the goal is to get representation for every Senate district to have either an older adult, an advocate of some sorts that would speak on behalf of these issue briefs and represent every part of the state. And so some of these issue briefs are direct care workforce, paying CNAs more money, or home health providers. Broadband expansion has just been huge because of Zoom and people not being able to have internet access up north, or any kind of connectivity. So it's really brought this issue to light. There's a lot of work going on around that. Transportation, money for transportation, family caregivers. I have a document that I can share with you. And then along those lines too, there's some interesting legislation being proposed around voting laws. And I have a very clear, concise document as well. These are the documents I share as my legislative liaison role with all senior center directors across the state to say, if any of this legislation speaks to you, impacts your seniors, negatively or positively, reach out to your legislator and let them know how you feel. There's a lot of legislation in one of these bills being proposed about indefinitely confined voters and, people in nursing homes and assisted living, and so sort of some of those changes that are going to impact those folks that live in those places. So again, I can make copies, put these out. If you're interested, I can send them to you. But just, just like the equity and inclusion stuff, it's just educating, keeping active, knowing what's coming down the pike. So that part usually keeps me busy right now because I do a lot with WASC. Other than that, I know I went really fast. I'm looking at my list here. We will be doing a bag recycling program all month long with our student intern. One of our volunteers who is a high school student who came up with the idea, which leads me to the Friends are part of this because we also have the Hy-Vee reusable bag buy a reusable bag for $2.50. $1 will go to the Friends. And so this will be all part of our April kind of Earth Day celebration event, which just reminded me, Judith, that I just jumped completely in front of you. I'm sorry.
That's what I was going to say. That sounded like the director's report, and we kind of skipped both Judith and Don.
I was getting nervous because I have you here so long, so I'm so sorry.
Do we want to see if Judith wants to say anything?
Yeah.
Judith, do you have anything for the Friends?
Yeah, just a quick, we spent $850 on special needs last month, and we had the travel show last month, and it seemed to be a success because we had 25 Zoom screens participating in the travel show. And of course, that means the attendance was over 25 because a lot of them were couples. And then the big thing is the Pancake Breakfast Plus. And by the plus, it means that you can order breakfast all day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And after 11, you can order a lunch or dinner menu off the lunch or dinner menu. So that's in conjunction with the Hy-Vee Market Grill, and it's on Sunday, April 25th. And if you mention Fitchburg Senior Center or the Fitchburg Senior Friends, we get 10% of the profits on the dinners that are ordered that day. And then I was going to mention about the bags, but I think I'll go back to Jill on that because she is more in charge of that than we are.
Well, and it's just, the Friends did this last year. Hy-Vee just reaches out to nonprofits and they ask them if they want to be the recipient of this fundraiser. And so it really partnered really well with the bag recycling program that Kylie, our volunteer, is heading up. And so, again, I reached out to the Friends to see, well, and Marcia knew too, the chair, to see if they wanted to do this again. And of course they did. And then also with that bag recycling program, the Friends are going to pre-purchase 10 of the Hy-Vee reusable bags. And we're going to put a big barrel out in our foyer. And so you can drop your recycling bags off any time of day or night. And then we'll have a little drawing where you can put your name in a hat and win a recycling bag at the end of the month. So just as a little extra incentive. And I can't remember what the bags, the bags that Hy-Vee are selling. It says, does this make my heart look big? I almost said but that didn't make sense. So it is heart. So it's a nice program. And as always, thanks to the Friends. As Dave went through his annual report, I was reminded about how supportive the Friends were as they really sponsored all of those drive-bys, because we can't do odd things and funnel that kind of money through a city budget. So the Friends were sponsors of every one of those drive-bys. So their support is always so appreciated. So.
A point of clarification for that bag collection, that's plastic bags, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to clarify that so people can bring plastic bags in to have this group recycle. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Good.
Ruth, did you have a question?
That was the question. Thank you.
Oh, really? Should we do other kind of bags? I mean, we're not really. I mean, do you have paper bags that you want to? I don't know. I had Kylie, we looked up the city recycling program. So in Stoughton, we can't put plastic bags in our trash. So I didn't realize in Fitchburg you can, but it has to be like in a basketball size. There's some parameters to it. It took a little wind out of my sail because I thought, oh, we're so smart, but I didn't realize the city was already doing some of that. But again, it's very convenient to just drive by the center and, drop off bags anytime. And if you want to put them in a big beach ball thing, then that's fine. We don't care. We don't have any rules.
Okay.
Just clean.
For paper bags, oftentimes food pantries have requests for paper bags. So we could certainly do a collection for paper bags to be redistributed to food pantries that need to reuse those.
Okay.
It's a good thought. Okay, Jill, are we going to go back to area agency on?
I think Alice had a quick question.
Oh, no, Badger Prairie Needs Network is desperately looking for bags, paper bags.
So the brown paper bags.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Well, we'll just add that to the article. I don't think it's too late. So that's great. Don didn't share anything with me. I know, again, as his on the AAA board that they're watching the uncomfortable truth, just like my legislative board is doing there too. And so I don't know anything coming out of that board right now to report on.
Okay. Are there any additional announcements before we adjourn? If not, our next meeting is scheduled for April 8th. Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Who seconded?
Alice.
Alice.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.